from that game as well, Jett Howard has been very fun in Michigan's first 2 games. And he looks ready to play from the jump. He looks like a potential one and done prospect. For people who don't know, Jett Howard is Juwan Howard, the coach at Michigan and longtime NBA player's son. He is a 6'8", let's call him wing, secondary wing playmaker who can shoot, right? Let's go with that.
Yeah.
I've seen some real hype about Jett Howard coming into the season. He has been very good in their first 2 games at some things. And you can really see the flashes, I think, particularly as a second side ball handler, where he takes second side ball screens and like takes a couple of dribbles, is very patient, is very calm, and makes the right passing read. Would have been your overall impressions of Jett Howard, who I think is a guy that is kind of bubbling up at this point as a player that people think could end up being one of those guys who comes from outside of the top 30 recruits in the country and then becomes a one and done.
Yeah, with Jett, I think it's 2 different ends of the floor, right? On the offensive end, seen a lot of impressive things to start. Really smooth shooting stroke because he's 6'8", decently high release, gets it off pretty quickly. A very confident floor spacer. You mentioned the passing feel, that ability to initiate those second side pick and rolls. I think he's a really good passer on the move, very proactive at making those reads, quick decision making when he runs into the second line of the defense, just kind of a natural at making decisions with the ball in his hands. And also a guy who, when he is patient coming off of those screens or finally sees daylight to be able to attack the basket, he does attack in straight lines. And that's something that I noticed from their first game that really, really impressed me there. Then there's the defense. And, oh boy, he's going to be a work in progress there. The entire Michigan team kind of needs a little bit of work on that end because they don't have plus athletes on the perimeter like we mentioned a little bit earlier. And I think that exposes Hunter Dickinson a little bit on the back line at times. So just really...
I'll be honest with you. I actually thought Hunter was like okay defensively in that game. He was not the reason that Eastern Michigan scored, 83, something like that. 85. I can't remember what the number is. But yeah, Hunter was like actually okay, I thought, defensively in this game. It was the perimeter guys that were just giving up penetration constantly and giving up way too much separation to be able to shoot open threes if you're Imani Bates in this case.
Well, and the challenge if you're Michigan is you don't want to have the ball funneled towards your best offensive player every single time down the floor. That if Hunter Dickinson gets in foul trouble, that's going to spell some issues for the Wolverines on the other end of the floor and on defense. So, you know, I think they've got to find some way to become a little bit more of a perimeter stopgap there. I think Howard has some of the tools to make that happen just because he's long and decently smart, but he's going to need a little bit more work on ball before I'm ready to proclaim him to be in that top 30 range.
Yeah. He is, it's hard to find guys though that are 6'8" that can handle the ball like he can, that can play in ball screens and that can shoot. And he is definitely an NBA player at some point is what I would say.
Oh yeah. Yes.
The thing that worries me is he is just not a crazy athlete. Like he's kind of boxy in terms of like the way he moves. He's not explosive, not all that twitchy. The other thing that frustrated me in his first couple of games is I think that like as a driver, he kind of preordains his reads. Like he'll decide as he starts his drive, okay, I am going to Euro step and get around this defender, as opposed to reacting to what the defender does to him and goes, okay, we're going to actually read this defender and then maybe Euro step around him or take a floater or do something else. And this is freshman stuff, right? Like, of course, freshmen aren't finished products, but I think that was a lot of the issue that we saw with him, in the first couple of games was, he's still developing. He has good feel for the game, but he's still developing his experience at this point.
Sure. And again, I see flashes of the ability to be a very good live dribble playmaker and somebody who understands how to read a defense in terms of, do I score it? Do I pass it? But he's got to be a lot smarter because he's not a great athlete at just taking what the defense gives him and understanding how to take space and get to the basket, as opposed to like you said, pre-planning out some of his drives and his moves.